What kind of a night have you had then?
A fantastic night. Groundbreaking results for the Liberal Democrats across the country, exceeding the expectations of all the independent pundits. Before I came on air, we just heard that we've gained control of the royal borough of Windsor and Maidenhead from the Conservatives, a fabulous result. And there's worse yet to come for the Conservatives, the hands of the Liberal Democrats. They just started counting in Surrey, Sussex and Hertfordshire and Oxfordshire. So in those traditional Conservative heartlands, what I've called the blue wall seats, Liberal Democrats are making big gains. And in our traditional homelands, in places like Dorset and Devon, I think we'll make big gains as well. So, yes, it's been a brilliant night for the Liberal Democrats, and I think our positive agenda's really helped.
Liberal Democrats traditionally do well in local elections, don't they? So can you draw any conclusions about how your party might fare in a general election from these results so far?
Well, if you look over the last 30, 40 years, Liberal Democrat MPs have been elected on the back of really good local government elections. So we're really proud of our local government colleagues and their campaigns, but it really sets up us really well for the next general election. I think there'll be a lot of Conservative MPs in those blue wall seats in Devon and Dorset and Somerset and other areas who are now really worried about the Liberal Democrat challenge. And I'm really positive about the policies. Our policies have been really popular on the doorsteps. On the NHS, people are really blaming the Conservatives for the ambulance delays, the difficulty getting a GP appointment or an NHS dentist, and they like what Liberal Democrats have been saying on that.
Well, Labour also are taking advantage of what you say is people turning against the Conservatives. They've had a good election so far. However, it would take a huge swing for them to win a majority at the next election. If they did turn out to be the next big party, we're back in coalition territory, aren't we?
Listen, I'm focused on beating those Conservative MPs and indeed SNP MPs in Scotland, where I think the Liberal Democrats have a really good chance. And, you know, I'm increasingly confident about our ability to beat Conservative MPs at the next general election. And I don't think the Conservatives can be removed from government if Liberal Democrats don't beat those Conservative MPs. So I'll just say to your viewers, if you live in those blue wall seats in traditional Liberal Democrat heartlands where we are the challengers to the Liberal Democrats, and that's now in many, many seats, please come and join us to beat those Conservative MPs.
But you're dodging the issue of coalition. Is that something that you would consider?
I'm not dodging it. I'm just saying that our focus at the moment is to remove Conservative MPs. I couldn't be clearer about that. I fought the Conservatives all my life. I think they've really let down our country, particularly on the NHS. You know, the other thing that people have been saying on the doorstep, which maybe hasn't had the coverage it deserves, but this is what voters have been saying, they feel that it's not just their chaotic incompetence, but it's they lack integrity. I think all those lies and dishonesty we've had from the Conservatives in the last few years, that's now, people have seen through them. And they now say, we don't want this anymore. And I think they want to change.
You've had a fair amount of success in by-elections in the last year. That's been put down as a rejection of Boris Johnson. Are you worried that with Rishi Sunak coming in, it's going to be a very different prospect?
Well, look at the results tonight. Absolutely not. You know, in Windsor and Maidenhead, come back to that, no one expected to take those results. And I think you will find when all the results are counted, Liberal Democrats have made really, really good gains. And Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives will be very worried. You know, on the doorstep, people weren't really almost bothered who was the Tory Prime Minister. It was the Tory party that they feel is divided, chaotic. And the other thing that people kept saying to me is they feel that Conservatives are out of touch. They don't get real people. They don't care. And I think that's really true if you watch them in Parliament. And what I'm determined for my party, the Liberal Democrats, is to speak to voters' concerns and focus on things like the health service, things like the cost of living, things like the environment. We've led, for example, the campaign against the water companies pumping their filthy sewage into our rivers and seas, but Conservative MPs have been defending that.
And yet a lot can change between now and a general election, probably next year, not least the issue of the cost of living. Inflation set to come down. People may feel that the government is fixing things by the time of the next general election.
Prices won't come down. The inflation of the Conservatives has been dreadful. And the inflation rate might come down because that's how the economy can work at times with global issues happening. But inflation has been really bad in our country. Take food. Food prices are rising faster in this country than almost any other of the major industrialised countries. and it's the food prices that are hitting so many families and pensioners on top of the energy bills. And the headline rate of inflation come down, but people still feel really let down and feel really worse off under the Conservatives. The Conservatives have made our country poorer.
But Rishi Sunak a tougher opponent than Liz Truss or Boris Johnson for you?
Well, Liz Truss wasn't there for very long, so it's very difficult to analyse, but she was a shockingly poor Prime Minister. I mean, Rishi Sunak was by the side of Boris Johnson. He was Boris Johnson's Chancellor. So all the economic mistakes that happened under Johnson and now under Sunak, Rishi Sunak needs to take the blame. And I think he can't escape that. He can't escape the blame, and nor can the Conservative Party. They are out of touch. They've let people down. And what I'm concerned about is making sure people see the Liberal Democrats as a party who can beat Conservatives. And on the results of last night, which were, off the scale for us, really fantastic, I think people are turning to us.